So it's Lee here with you on a live 107.3, still trying to catch my breath from what has been a crazy 2 weeks for Impact Wrestling fans, myself included. Obviously, Bound for Glory, a truly history-making event in Chicago at the Cicero Stadium. I was there. We were counting down the days to it here on a live 107.3. Without doubt, the greatest night of my life, not only because of the great in-ring action, but because of the earth-shattering announcement that took place at the end of the show, which we're going to talk about in a moment. And of course, just wrapped up this weekend for the first time in 8 years. Impact were here in the UK with sellout shows in Glasgow, Newcastle, and Coventry. Who better to look back on this crazy 2 week period with than the man responsible for the total non-stop action we have seen, President Scott D'Amore. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Morning, Lee. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here.
Scott, let's just cut straight to it. So much to try and unpack from the past 14 days. Let's start with BFG, Bound for Glory, sold out at Cicero Stadium. Everyone had witnessed an amazing night of in-ring action, including, I think, one of the contenders for the match of the year between Will Ospreay and Speedball Mike Bailey. How excited, how pleased were you with the in-ring action at Bound for Glory after so much hype and so much expectation?
Yeah, Lee, I think that sometimes when there's that much anticipation, it's nerve-wracking because it's certainly easy to have a letdown. But I thought from top to tail, I thought that Bound for Glory delivered. I thought the Hall of Fame ceremony was a very special ceremony, getting to induct the original Knockout, Tracy Brooks, and then the voices of a generation in Mike Tenay and Don West. And it was such an emotional time, getting to honor Don, who was, is no longer with us. But truly a special moment to honor those two gentlemen. And then turn to the in-ring action. I thought from beginning to end, I mean, it was outstanding. And you referenced Speedball Mike Bailey and Will Ospreay. And if that's not a match of the year candidate, I don't know what is. It's, it was truly, I think a special night. I think that match was amazing. I thought we had a great main event. I think we had some amazing knockouts action. I think it was a perfect night as far as for celebrating what Impact Wrestling has been for the last 6 years, which is a product that has been rebuilt, restacked, a company that has momentum and delivers night in and night out with some of the very best wrestling action in the world.
And that wrestling action, as you say, was delivered continuously from bell to bell on that night at the Cicero Stadium. And you mentioned the Hall of Fame, which I have to admit, Scott, and anyone will tell this, I am not somebody that shows emotional a lot. I'm not outwardly emotional, but there was very much a tear in my eye during that Hall of Fame induction ceremony when we inducted Don and Mike to the Hall of Fame. Truly amazing. And I was lucky enough to get to meet the Professor Mike Tenay after the event. And again, we were talking about some of the great moments that Impact Wrestling had here in the UK, including that first live TV broadcast, and his face just lit up as he was talking about some of his great memories on his own, and also with good old DW. And what I loved at the end of his speech was the fact he truly did pass the baton with such emotion to our current commentary team. How did it feel? Because I know you spoke to the guys about this, for them to get that passing of the baton from the great Professor.
I think it was Matthew and Tom would say it was very humbling. Tom and Matt do not take lightly the seats that they hold at that table for Impact Wrestling, now TNA Wrestling. And it's been something. Mike today is, and Don West, certainly the voices of a generation. Mike Tenay, there's nobody whose wrestling knowledge and knowledge of wrestling history rivals Mike's, I don't think. Truly one of the greatest play-by-play announcers in history. And Don West, iconic, to the fact that, I think like Mike was the consistent best play-by-play announcer in the industry. And then Don came in and did something that we had never seen. You'd seen, color commentators that were ex-wrestlers or experts. I don't know if you'd ever seen somebody that was just a massive fan screaming and cheering from that color commentary chair like Don West did. So getting to honor them was truly special. And I'll be honest, it was hard for me up there. There was there was, you know, a half a dozen times where I really was trying to fight back tears, and you know, it was getting a little tough here in the throat. I don't have the smoothest voice to start with, Lee, as you may have noticed, and getting through that induction, because how do you in 5 minutes sum up what Mike Tenay and Don West mean to Impact Wrestling and to the wrestling world? So it was a daunting task. It was truly humbling to be asked, and it was one of my greatest honors. And you know, I'm getting a little misty here just talking about it, but you know, I just think Mike Tenay, Don West meant so much to this company. They meant so much to my career. You know, both dear friends, and you know, Mike especially. I mean, somebody that I travel just up and down the roads with on a weekly basis, and was, you know, friend, mentor, and so much more. So I mean, I think that was truly special, and I think it was great for Mike Tenay to come back. I mean, I don't think he's done a single thing in wrestling since he walked away from TNA Wrestling. So for him to come back and see what he's meant to people's lives. And Lee, I got to be the one to introduce Will Ospreay to Mike Tenay, and Will was like his slack jawed. It was like he was, you could see he was blown away that, you know, Mike Tenay was standing in front of him, and at one point he blurted out, it was so sweet. He just blurted out, you know, "You're the voice of my childhood," you know, which Mike was to multiple generations. You know, so I think to have that for Mike, and to have a chance to honor Don, and of course Tracy Brooks as well, was truly special. And I just think, like I said, top to bottom, Bound for Glory. I mean, you always sit back after an event and go, "Oh, I'd like to have done this a little different. I'd like to have done that." I mean, as we sit here now, a couple of weeks removed, it's still almost like, yeah, I'm just so happy with how things went from the beginning to the end that you alluded to. And I mean, I just think that was a special moment that I think goes down in wrestling history.
Very much it was. I think we're all expecting something special at Bound for Glory, as we've come to expect over the almost 2 decades that Impact Wrestling, the TNA, has been in existence. But it was very strange for me, Scott, where I was sitting in Cicero. I was right at the corner of the ring, just at the last row, where the curtain was behind. So there was a security guard came out just towards the end of the last match, and he parted the ring rope slightly, the security gate. So I knew something was going to happen. And then all eyes in the arena went to the video wall. It went into darkness, and there was 4.5 minutes of stunned silence and anticipation and build. And then at the end of that video package, which we'll show to our YouTube viewers, it came on, and the news that TNA Wrestling is coming back with you guys in the ring. The place was going mental. The place was going crazy, and you've done something that nobody else has been able to do, Mr. DeMore, including on my wedding day. You've been able to make me cry twice within 4 hours. My wife was with me at the time. She was standing right beside me, and she went, "I've heard you talk about TNA. You talk about it with such passion, but I've never seen you cry and be so emotional in the way that you were." And I think everyone in the stadium that night was exactly the same. Did you know it was going to have this effect? Why was now the right time to bring back TNA, and how long had you been sitting on this, Scott?
I mean, I absolutely think now is the time. You know, when I first came back, like, remember, Lee, I left here years ago to a very strong TNA wrestling company that I thought was going to be powerful for years and years to come. And then when I returned with Anthem Sports in 2018, it was a very different company, to be frank. And it had gone through, you know, the changes from TNA to Impact to TNA to Global Force back to Impact. And the last thing it needed was another name change. What it needed was stability. And it had some years of instability. You know, so I think the key thing was we had to be consistent. We had to be stable. We had to go out there and just outwork everybody. And I sat in this very room in 2018, you know, and did the media rounds and said that we're just going to work hard. We're going to work hard to gain every single fan's trust back one at a time. Because quite frankly, that trust had been lost. And I think over the past 6 years, the work that's been done by this team here is awe-inspiring, and it's unbelievable to think the amount of people that have grinded day in and day out to earn fans back one at a time. And I think 6 years later, I can sit here in the same room and say we've done that. And people now know that Impact Wrestling is a consistently great product. Week in and week out, our talent and our crew go out there and put it on the line. I think people trust that when they put down money for a pay-per-view with us, they're getting their money's worth. That wasn't the case 6 years ago. And I think we've delivered on that mandate. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it took a little longer than I hoped it would with COVID and everything else. Mm-hmm. But I think we've battled everything in our way. We've gotten over every hurdle put in front of us. And I think that us as a company, and I think wrestling as a whole, is ready for TNA Wrestling. I think if we would have came out 6 years ago and said, "Hey, we're TNA Wrestling," they would have went, "Ugh, here we go, another name change. Okay, whatever." But now, as we're consistently, often talked about as the best wrestling show that enough people aren't getting to see. I think that returning to the iconic brand, those three letters, and the last 4 days here in the UK, hearing it chanted from beginning to end, almost nonstop. You talk about, crying. I mean, I had a tear in my eye on multiple times. So I think the timing's right. I think that there's a generation that grew up watching TNA, and Will Ospreay so eloquently said it in the ring. TNA Wrestling is what inspired him to be a professional wrestler and do what he's done. And I think that there's thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people out there that are in that same boat. And now those fans get to re-experience that, and they get to share it with the next generation. And I think we've got an unbelievably talented and passionate group that I've never seen anything like it, the way this group comes together. And I think we have something special. I think that TNA Wrestling has a spirit to it of changing the industry at a time when there was no other alternatives that stepped in, at a time when, before, you can say whatever you want, before TNA Wrestling, like guys like AJ Styles didn't get a chance to be main eventers. They could be a key part of a cruiserweight division or a junior heavyweight division, but they didn't get to be in the main event. And that happened in TNA Wrestling. When tag team wrestling was floundering and nobody cared about it, teams like America's Most Wanted and Triple X and that went out there and put on amazing and kept that part of the sport alive. And when women were being treated as secondary or tertiary characters, and all they were is just eye candy to be with the guys, it was TNA Wrestling that sat there and said, you know what, we're going to present our female athletes as just that, amazing world-class athletes. We're going to treat them as equal to the men. We're going to let them go out there and have matches. And I mean, truthfully, at the time, we're like, hey, give them this stage and it's theirs to take. And, certainly there was a fear at times, hey, maybe this doesn't work. But that's not the case, because those women were so passionate, so talented, and so driven. They've completely revolutionized the industry. All of those things happened under the TNA banner. And now as we return, that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep, it's like the other day was getting to go to the ring and climb into that ring and look at somebody like Leon Slater, one of the best young talents I've ever seen, an amazing talent that's as gifted as I've ever seen, that's as put together as I've ever seen for 19 years old, and is as good a human being as he is a wrestling talent. We're going to provide those opportunities, and we're going to provide those moments. And, whether it's the cage walk by Elix Skipper, whether it's the debut of Kurt Angle, whether it's that TNA reveal, whether it's the Hall of Fame of Mike today, we're going to make special moments for people that they're going to share with their friends and their family, and that are going to become part of, like, embedded in them as part of who they are. And we're going to continue the same hard work that we've established under Impact Wrestling. And now under our true name, under TNA Wrestling, we're going to go out there, and it's time for us to go back and reclaim our spot in this industry. I think one of the things, and I think it had to be that way, but 6 years ago, when we talked about earning fans' trust, one at a time, going out and consistently putting out a great show and going out there and proving, that we deliver on our promises, we've done that. And I now think as we go into 2024, and as we now return to being TNA Wrestling, I think it's really simple. I think it's time that we can puff our chest out a little bit and say, we are TNA Wrestling. We're an integral part of this industry. We've been an agent of change for over 2 decades. And, hop on board with us. We're heading somewhere. Hop on board, be part of the ride. And if not, cool. Get out of our way, or we'll run you the F over. That's the attitude now going into 2024. We're done apologizing. We're good at what we do, and we're back.
We're back. We're excited. We are heading into 2024 with a new drive, new enthusiasm, new roster, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But obviously during that impassioned speech you gave in the Ring at Bound for Glory, there was a couple of names you did mention, and I have to ask, since this announcement of TNA returning, have you heard anything? Has your phone blown up with messages from Dixie Carter or Jeff Jarrett? I have to ask the question.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. I was actually on the plane on flying on the way over here last week, and I reached out to Jeff. You know, when I was 28 years old, suffering from post concussion syndrome, and kind of looking at what I thought might be the end of my career, Jeff brought me into TNA wrestling, gave a 28-year-old an opportunity to come in on the ground floor and be in the front office. And TNA wrestling means so much to me. It was never just a job to me. It was something that, you know, in many ways saved my life. So I reached out to Jeff and, you know, just kind of said to him, you know, I'm sure you've heard. I don't know your thoughts. I just want you to know it means a ton to me. It means the world to me. It means the world to a lot of people here. And I just hope you know it's going to get our 100. And we're going to put everything into it. This is your creation still. But you know, we're going to take it and we're going to give it everything we got. And we had a wonderful exchange while I was on that flight. And, you know, Jeff and I have had a amazing relationship, you know, had its ups and downs over the years, but at the end of the day, there's always been respect and admiration, I think both ways. And we had a great exchange. He expressed his support and said he's looking forward to seeing what we can do. And my goal, my belief, my mission statement is we're going to make him and every TNA wrestling fan that's out there that hasn't had a chance to proudly pound their chest and chant those initials. We're going to give them that opportunity, and we're going to deliver it and make it something that everybody can be proud of.
We look forward to being proud of TNA wrestling as we head into 24. Lots to talk about. We know there's going to be new graphics, new upgraded production aspects. We've heard all about those, Scott. What else can we expect? I mean, can we expect to see an increase in the touring, the taping schedules? Will there be more chances for people to get out and experience TNA live, not just in the US, but obviously here in the UK? We've just wrapped up the Invasion tour, the first tour in 8 years. How did that go for you? How excited are you? Can we expect to see more TNA in the UK in 2024?
I mean, right off the top, absolutely. You're going to see more TNA wrestling here. The UK has been such a important place in TNA's history in the wrestling industry. In 2008, when we came here, it's the first place where we're really like, man, like we're on to something. Like this is, we had done a lot, but coming here was like a whole nother level. It was like, wow, like we're being, you know, greeted outside the venues, outside the hotels. Like this market embraced us and is a true part of our identity as TNA wrestling. And that's why, to me, it was so important. You know, you had asked earlier about how long we've been working on this. We've been working on this since February, you know, like actively day in and day out. And one of the things I'm proudest about is the fact that it never leaked out, which is amazing to me. And it just shows how special this group is. But to me, it was important that we make that announcement and then we come to the UK. You know, in 2018, when we took over, one of the things was we wanted to get in this market. We were able to run one event here in Manchester, and then as we were planning a full tour, the whole world went sideways. You know, and that sidelined us for a few years, and it took us much longer than we wanted to. But it was important that we get back in this market, and now that we're back in it, we're gonna dig our claws into it and really be an integral part of the fabric of the industry over here. So, to me, coming here these last handful of days, having doing 4 events here and getting back out and connecting with UK fans has been unbelievable. So, and to hear that those initials chanted from beginning of the show to the end almost is exciting. And you know, you're going to see us here in 2024. You know, earlier this year we also went to Australia for the first time ever, and I think you're going to see more of that type of international expansion in 2024. As far as for our taping schedule, for initially it's going to stay pretty similar, but we're certainly looking at revising it and growing it as the year goes on. You know, Hard to Kill is just the beginning. It's the return. It's the coming out party for TNA wrestling. But it's so that we can build on an upward trajectory all through 2024 and into 2025. And much like we set a plan and talked about it in this very room 6 years ago, it's going to be step by step. I think the steps are a lot faster because I mean, we were crawling in 2018, and damn it, we're at least jogging right now, Lee. And we're gonna get to running at a full sprint. And but it's one of those things. You're gonna look at it from January to June, and then you're looking at the end of 2024 and into 20. You're just gonna see the steps and the growth. I truly believe that. We're committed to this project. We're going to see it through, and I think we've rallied and riled up a fan base that's been waiting, right? It's been years where it was like, those chants kind of like there was murmurs, and there was times that they came out, and they didn't just come out at our shows, Lee. You look at it, AJ Styles and Bobby Roode square off in the Royal Rumble, and you've got a stadium full of tens of thousands of people chanting TNA. When Jeff Jarrett squared off with Sting at an AEW pay-per-view in front of, I think it was like 12,000, 15,000 people, that arena erupted with TNA chants. It's something that connects with people on a meaningful level. And it's something that, I'm certainly excited to see return. And I think, if anything, the last couple of weeks have taught us is that there's hundreds of thousands, millions of fans out there that are excited to see TNA back.
We are very, very excited to see TNA back. And with the return of TNA, we're also, over the last couple of days, saw the return of TNA Gut Check, giving the chance to some of the brightest young wrestlers from here in the UK, and giving them the platform to shine potentially in TNA wrestling. Obviously, we had Gut Check tryouts in Glasgow and in Coventry, Scotland. If you've been following Impact on social, you'll know Harley Hudson, lucky recipient of that Gut Check contract. What did you make of Harley? What was it that made her stand out? And what did you make of the rest of the UK talent during the Gut Check experience?
Yeah, I mean, look, we evaluated over 160 talents, primarily from the UK, but from all over Europe. And I mean, look, I'll tell you what, as somebody who first came to the UK in 1996, to see what the UK scene has developed, respectfully, in 1996, the scene here was not in a great place. But now it's one of the leading wrestling markets in the world. And the talent here is second to none. And truthfully, Lee, there's probably 20 to 30 prospects out of here that we could have took and all have a good chance to develop. There's really some great talent here. But Harley showed out like so many did. But she has a great look. She's thought about her presentation already. She's got a presence. She's got charisma. She's got athletic ability. She delivers in the ring. I mean, I think she is as good a prospect as you can look for. And she's gone out there and she's made her bones out here on the UK scene and the European scene. And I'm very excited to have her. She's going to be coming over to North America. She's going to be at the Can-Am Dojo. She's going to be training under Josh Alexander, under Alex Shelley, under Chris Sabin, under myself. And I think with the crew of individuals that we have, I think that with her skill set, I would be shocked if you don't see Harley join Leon Slater representing the UK on the Impact roster very soon.
We'll look forward to seeing how that turns out. Leon completely blew me away, I have to say, as part of the UK tour. Absolutely fantastic. Scott, I know we are up against it for time, my friend, so there's just two more things I would like to do with you if I can. Firstly, a quick round of the name game. I've got 5 Impact names. I would like to see the first thing that jumps into your head if you're up for this.
Sure.
First name, Trinity.
Star. Glow.
Joe Hendry.
Drives me crazy. No, yeah, just tremendous entertainer.
Jake something.
Potential.
Moose.
5-star athlete. Most complete athlete I've ever worked with.
I praise. And finally, the last name, this one is Tom Hannifin.
Professor Junior.
Nice. That is the name game with the TNA president, Scott D'Amore. And actually just saying that, the last thing I need to know is, how does it actually feel, Scott, to hear you be referred to as TNA president?
It's great. like I said, in an ideal world, I think that the name of this company never changes. We can't change the past, but we can always create a future. And I think I'm humbled to be TNA president, and I'm excited to be part of the return of TNA wrestling. And we're back, we're ready. Let's get this.
You can keep up to date with everything that's going on in the world of Impact Wrestling, TNA Wrestling, as it will be from January. Thursday nights on Access TV in the US. Here in the UK, you can watch on Impact Plus, Impact Insiders on YouTube, and Friday nights on DAZN 1. That's Sky Channel 429. TNA President Scott D'Amore, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on a live 107.3.
Thanks for having me, Lee. It's been great.